let me ask you something. What actually saved Earth in Project Hail Mary? Be honest. Your brain immediately says science, right? One genius alone in space solving the impossible with pure logic. That's the story we think we watched because it makes the world feel predictable. But here's the problem. If science alone was enough, Ryan Grace should have solved everything before Rocky ever appeared. And he didn't. Not even close. Which means we've been asking the wrong question the entire time. What if it was saved, Grace stopped being alone? This movie isn't really about space. It's about why your perfect plan might actually be the thing that traps you, and why the one thing you can't control, another being, might be the only thing that can save you. I'm Jay Lee, and this is Deeper into Film. Let's figure out why Grace wasn't enough on his own. Let's start with the belief that drives everything in this story. Humanity is facing extinction, and what do? We build a perfect plan. Everything is calculated, controlled, optimized. We color code our folders, track our sleep cycles, optimize our routines, and convince ourselves that if everything organized enough, life will finally behave. And underneath all of that effort is one quiet assumption. If we are smart enough, we can solve this alone. When Grace wakes up, he becomes the perfect embodiment of that belief. He experiments, calculates, analyzes, and solves problem after problem with calm precision. Science works, logic works, control works. And for a while, it feels like that's enough, until it isn't. Because eventually, he reaches a point where there is no next step, no breakthrough, no solution. Just a very intelligent man, completely out of ideas, alone in space. And if you've ever reached that point in your own life, where thinking harder doesn't help anymore, you already know what that feels like. And here's the uncomfortable truth. We actually depend on that illusion of control. It makes us feel safe. It makes us feel we are in charge. But that moment it breaks, the problem is no longer just practical. It becomes existential. And then something happens that completely disrupts that system. Another ship appears. Not part of the plan, not human, just a five-legged alien communicating like a jazz drummer, having an existential crisis. Just there. And this is the moment that changes everything, because it's not a discovery, it's an encounter. Something completely outside Grace's system enters his world. A true other. Something he cannot reduce, cannot control, cannot fully understand. And if we are honest, this is exactly the kind of moment we try to avoid in real life. Yes. It's unpredictable. It's uncomfortable. It doesn't fit into spreadsheet. But here's the twist. Instead of rejecting that difference, he stays with it. And that decision changes everything. Because without Rocky, Grace does not just struggle, he fails completely, which means the answer was never inside him alone. It was always outside his system, waiting to be encountered. Once Rocky enters the story, everything changes structurally. Before, it was one mind, one perspective, one closed loop of logic. Now it's two completely different ways of seeing reality forced to interact. They cannot breathe the same air. They are separated by a fragile barrier that could kill them both instantly. And yet, that barrier becomes the most important space in the entire film, because that's where understanding begins. And here's what the movie does that's so rare. It does not erase difference. It perseveres it. They don't become close by becoming the same. They become close because they accept each other as fundamentally different and still choose to respond. And think about how slow that process is. They misunderstand each other, yes. They make mistakes. They get frustrated. And yet, they keep coming back again and again. And that might be the most unrealistic part of the film. Not the alien, not the science, but the patience required to stay in relationship with someone who is completely different from you. Because in real life, most of us do not stay that long. We treat into what is familiar, what is predictable, what we can control. And this leads to the most important part in the entire story. The solution that saves Earth does not come from Grace alone, and it does not come from Rocky alone either. It comes from interaction between them. Each brings something the other does not have, and neither is enough by itself. The answer only begins to exist when those two perspectives start working together. Yes, remove Rocky and the solution never happens. Not later, not eventually, never. Which means something deeply uncomfortable is true. The answer didn't exist until the relationship did. And this is where the movie turns directly toward us. Because we do the same thing. We believe that if we just think harder, plan better, and control more variables, we can solve our lives alone. But if you really look at your life, the moments that actually changed you, the ones that shifted your direction, almost never came from perfect planning. They came from interruptions, from people who didn't expect, from situations you couldn't control. And at the time, they probably felt like problems, like things that were getting in the way of your plan. But looking back, those were the moments that made everything else possible. Because some problems are not meant to be solved alone. Some problems only become solvable when something outside your system forces you to change. So let's go back to the original question. What actually saved the Earth? Yes, science played a role, but not in isolation, because the science did not exist until the connection did. Rocky is not just a companion. He's the condition that makes the solution possible, which means the real turning point of the story is not a calculation. It's a moment of connection, not by erasing difference, but by fully accepting the other as other. The moment Grace stops trying to do everything alone. So here's my question for you. What is one thing in your life right now that you're trying to solve completely on your own that might not be solvable that way? Let me know in the comments, or just sit with it for a moment. Because in Project Hail Mary, the answer did not appear when Grace thought harder. It appeared when someone else showed up. And maybe the next time your perfectly logical plan starts to fall apart, instead of trying to fix it immediately, you might pause and ask a different question. Not what am I missing, but who am I missing? I'm Jay Lee, and this is Deeper into Film, where movies do not just entertain us, they reveal the places in our lives where we are still trying to do everything alone. And I'll see you in the next time.